Yeah, howdy, howdy, howdy. My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Absolutely coming to you live from downtown in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. The only show in Ontario featuring John Fillion and Paul K. Lemire. This is my
It is the only
co-host.
show featuring the two of us.
It is.
For sure.
I've never heard of any other show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. This is it. This is what you get, and this is all there is. So,
Bonjour, mes amis. Ça va bien?
hey, it looks like you got some good levels there, Johnny boy.
C'est bon.
Look it over here.
Les temps aujourd'hui, c'est très bon.
We. I'm telling you, everything's looking good here today. I can't believe it. Hello out there in video land. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the like button, do the whole routine on
Send us
YouTube.
comments.
Do the whole team on YouTube because we want you to watch and get notifications when we post the show, which is every Wednesday at noon for sure. And this Wednesday is no different. Here we are with Absolutely once again.
I can't believe how nice it is outside today here.
Oh, it's beautiful. It was 64 this morning when I got up at about 5:30, and I'm going, oh boy, it's going to be a chilly day, but it's beautiful out here today.
It's got that feeling of fall, getting ready to go back to school. And of course, that signifies that we're getting ready for Le Match de Hockey.
Yeah, preseason starts, I think, September 24th. So we're only just a little bit more than a month away.
Just
oh boy,
a month
I'm so
away
excited.
From L'Équipe de Canadienne.
I'm so excited, I'll tell you, because I can't wait to see preseason, because then we're going to find out who's in, who's out, and who's going to be doing it. And that is exciting for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to a hockey season and seeing how the team fares this year, seeing how people are adjusting, seeing how they're progressing.
Yeah, and that's important too, because I'm just don't mind me, everybody. I'm just reaching for a little puffer.
Your lunch.
A puffer. I'm reaching for a little puff.
A little poof
for your microphone. Microphone.
We used to have poof. Ooh, I dropped that poof.
Did you?
Yeah,
oh boy!
Just down by your foot.
The poof is over here. The poof is in the pudding.
We used to have a lot of poofs when we went to school 50 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of poofs around everywhere.
We used to enjoy a little poof.
And Johnny, yeah, he got it on, just like putting on a condom. There you go. See, no big deal.
A little twist. It's always good.
A little twist to it. Oh yeah, we're getting crazy now. This is absolutely, we're nuts anyway. So don't worry about us. And that's why we love it when you comment. Tell us we're crazy. We love it, and then we'll reply to you, and we'll discuss it. There's not much to discuss when it comes to that, but we are crazy.
C'est très bien. C'est bon.
I'm crazy about the Habs.
Absolutely.
There you go. So, John, I was looking through stuff, and to be honest with you, we're really in the dog days of summer here. August. There's really not a heck of a lot going on in the NHL as far as trades and rumors and all that. It's kind of the same rumors being cycled over and over again. So there's really not a lot out there that Hughes is doing now. In the background, I'm positive there's some big things going on, but they're being really, really close to the vest with their cards. They're not really releasing a lot of information right now.
I think this is there's a bit of a lull at this point. I mean, I got to believe players are getting their last games of golf in. They're enjoying themselves. They're spending time with their families, as well as their conditioning. I believe, though, a guy like Kent Hughes is extremely busy. And one of the reasons that I think he is so active is the fact that he has so many prospects that he has to deal with. So, I mean, at one point, these prospects have to be given a contract, an entry-level contract. My understanding is you can only have, I think, about 50 contracts.
Yes,
in play.
Yes, exactly.
There's a certain number. So at one point, when you have we had 15 draft choices this year. I believe we have another 15 draft choices next year.
I think it was 11 and 11.
Was it? Well,
but still, that's 22.
Still, that's 22, exactly. Then you've got your draft choices from the previous 3 to 5 years. Now you have to decide who's going to get a contract, who you're going to offer a contract to, and who you're not going to.
Yeah, who you're going to set free, and they can go wherever they want. And it doesn't mean they're not going to play on the Habs. I mean, if nobody signs them, they may come to training camp, or be invited to training camp. And then we do invite players who weren't signed to training camp.
Players that we find that fall out from the radar, that we rediscover and give them an opportunity because maybe their progression over the last 2 years has been successful.
Well, it becomes a little bit of a problem when we have so many prospects, because when you have no prospects, whoever's there gets to go. But when you have a lot, it ups the bar for the quality of player that you're looking for. So guys like there's a guy right now. I'm glad we kind of got on this because I had a big I had a thing here about that. And we have Tyus Milanic and Rhett Pitlick, who are not going to be offered a contract, so they're free to go. And it's not that we don't like them. Rem Pitlick has been improving all the time.
I mean, that name has been discussed here on the show.
Oh yeah,
a few times at
least. And his brother too, right? He got moved.
So but I believe Pitlick now is 23 years of age,
something like that.
So at one point, you have to decide: does this player fit into our plan?
And I think that's exactly where Ken Hughes is with this. I think that he's looking and he's saying, okay, we have these amount of prospects, right? They're doing here and there, and this is the level they're at. Now, is Pitlick there or is he below? And if he's below, well, we're not going to sign him because we have 50 that we are pretty sure of, guys like Owen Beck and that, right?
And not only, like, say, Hodge, I believe, right? Hodge.
Yeah.
So we signed Hodge this year, or we drafted Hodge this year. I don't know if we've even signed this.
I think Drew Deek said it's Hage. Like Nicolas Cage.
So Hage, we've got Hage.
Just in case he's listening.
We've got Hage in the system. Have we, I don't even know if we've signed him, though. I mean, we drafted him this year. I mean, he's probably 19 or 20. Pitlick is 23. So where do we see? So we see Hage with a lot of ceiling.
Right.
Okay. Pitlick, though, now that he's been with us or been signed, or I shouldn't say signed, that we've drafted 3 years ago, where does he sit in regards to like a Hage? And that's the ruler that Ken Hughes has to walk around with and apply to probably 50 plus players constantly, almost like daily, like weekly at least, to see what he thinks and where these players are going to fit in and how they're going to be onboarded. How much time is he going to spend with their maturity, with their development program? Because, as you know, probably over the last 3 or 4 years since Kent Hughes has joined the team, we've probably doubled to tripled the amount of people who are working on player development. So that as well as an asset, but it's also it's a cost of doing business. And do we spend more hours on which player? So those are all the things that have to be considered and decided.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, It's like, what a great place to be, where you have so many prospects. You have to decide who's the better ones and who has the bigger ceiling, and let the others go. And like I say, a lot of teams don't have enough prospects, and they're just, everybody's there, and whatever happens, happens.
Have we been able to draft prospects that will actually be able to cut it? Let's say play at a particular level that we believe we need them to play to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's a big decision for Hughes. Like Rhett Pitlick, they could let him walk, and he could turn out to be a hell of a player on some other team, and we'll be looking, going, "Wow, man, he's one guy we should have kept." But
or he's one guy maybe that we could have traded.
We could have traded, and so that's why they signed Barron and these guys, because they got to sign people and hold on to people, but it's not necessarily to hold on to them to play for Montreal.
Absolutely.
Right? It could be to beef up a trade, like say we're going to take Lemire, or we're really going to make a move for him. There may be one player in there. Now, if Hughes thought Pitlick could be one of those players, I'm sure he would have put them on paper because you want to sign these guys up.
Yes, and the other story will go is that at one point you want to make a trade to get a big asset that will help your team make that run to Stanley. The other problem or the other consideration is draft picks in future drafts. So you don't want to always be picking second round or late in the first round. So is there a way of taking some of those draft choices that you have in the next 2 or 3 years and combining them so that you can trade out and pick the team that you think is going to be drafting in the top 10 of maybe 27, 28, or 29, ensuring that you're getting a quality first round pick consecutively over the next 5 to 10 years? That's a real challenge.
Yeah, it really is because you're really rolling the dice. You don't know. Like a few times at Calgary, we thought they were going to be in the bottom, and we got their first round pick. It ended up being number 26.
I think you're almost being like you have hurricanes and tornadoes that come on, and you're trying to predict their trajectory.
Right.
And that's basically, I think, what a GM has to do now is he's got all these multiple trajectories to consider.
Yeah, and especially with the Habs, because we do have so many people sitting in the prospect pool. I mean, we always sit here, and it's funny, week after week, we sit here and talk about prospects. And then when Drew Deeks is here, he goes, "What about Machar? What about this guy? Oh yeah, we forgot about him."
Just like Pitlick was probably brought up maybe a year ago at this point, and people saying, "Well, what about him?"
Yeah, exactly.
Will he be coming on to the team next year?
Yeah, we have a ton of these guys like this, that we haven't even seen yet. So, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I mean, these managers roll the dice, and they have no regrets because you just don't really know.
No, but when you have that array of people, that depth, not every team has it.
No,
but then you have to manage it. So that also takes a lot of man hours and a lot of time and a lot of investment in player development.
Yeah, because that's the other part of it. Even if you keep a guy you think has got a high ceiling, if you don't have a good development team, you can't develop him, then what good is he?
Exactly.
You see these guys move from team to team, and all of a sudden they become superstars. Well, it's probably not because the player was never a superstar. It's because he just wasn't getting the right development. And that's the big part of having all these prospects. And that's why you're so happy with Laval all the time.
Absolutely. And that becomes that whole management thing of a player, not just his physicality, but also his mentality. And therefore, and then we go back to speaking about attitude and culture and how they're actually going to fit and handle daily life in the NHL. It's so important that we bring on players that are stable and are willing to play for the success of the team and not just individual goals.
Well, exactly, and I think that's the big catch with Lonnie that we're going through right now. We'll talk about him later, but first, how about a little trivia?
I was waiting for that.
Well, we kind of got into this other stuff with the prospects, so I thought we might as well get through that and talk about that because that's pretty important.
It's extremely important, and I really think that's what we don't see behind the scenes that is going on 8 to 10 hours every day, every week.
Yeah, and so when we sit here and we say, well, geez, there wasn't a lot going on this week to talk about, but it's all that behind the scenes stuff that's going on, which we will see exposed in the next few weeks. So although there's not a ton this week or maybe last week, in the leading up to training camp, there will be a ton. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of releases because there's going to be a lot going on. We're just not going to find out about it probably till it happens, and that could be tomorrow. Even though we're doing the show on Wednesday, Thursday could be a big day for a lot of stuff that's going on. So let's get to trivia now. You were a goaltender. You played goalie, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So the Habs have had many illustrious goaltenders.
Yeah, we spoke about a few last week.
Yeah, over their 115-year history, right? One of them being the great Ken Dryden. Now, who doesn't know? Even Drew Deeks would know Ken Dryden, right?
Absolutely.
He would know, right?
He'd have, of course. I mean, Ken Ken Dryden, exceptional player, and like such a student of the game, no pun intended, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, his book, The Game, is probably maybe the most. I mean, probably the biggest book ever in the history of the NHL.
Yeah, and his record over the years that he played will never be duplicated. There's no friggin' way anybody's going to win that many Stanley Cups. He only played for what, 9 seasons or something like that?
Maybe 9 seasons.
Yeah, like it wasn't very many, but man, did he leave his mark on the NHL. I mean, unbelievable. So, in 1974, Dryden stepped away from the game to get his law degree.
Absolutely.
So, here's the trivia question. Which Vezina Trophy winning goaltender took over for Dryden when he was away from the team in 1974?
A Vezina winning goalie, eh?
Yeah, and I'm going to give you the names.
Okay.
And you tell me who it is. Rogie Vachon. Rogatien Vachon.
Great goaltender as well.
Michel Bunny Larocque. Good old Gump Worsley.
Bunny Larocque, eh? What a name, Bunny.
Or Jocelyn Thibault. One of those 4 guys, Vezina winning guy, took over from Dryden in 74 to backstop the Montreal Canadiens when Dryden was out trying to get his law degree.
Thibault played fairly later, I believe, in the NHL.
I'm not sure exactly the years he played, but I don't recall him playing in the early 70s. Let me put it that way.
And Vachon, was a goalie for the Canadiens in the 60s. And then later went to the LA Kings.
Yes, Rogatien Vachon.
I mean, what I loved about Rogatien Vachon was the way he would catch a puck. He'd put his blocker up high, and he'd have his catching mitt like that.
Oh, it was kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and that was his style. And almost like a backstop getting down to pick out the fastball,
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You back up your catching glove.
Love that kind of style. And it's funny, back in the day, I remember buying goalie sticks, and some of them were lumber, and then Tetriak, I believe, the Russian goalie.
Oh, Tretiak.
Lemire, right?
Tretiak.
He came and played in that Canada Cup tournament, and he had a stick that actually was called Montreal.
I remember that
brand, Montreal goalie stick, and I remember getting one of those, and it was so much lighter, such a fabulous stick. But I think probably the stick that I had consistently were CCMs, and I believe even Dryden and Larocque were using CCMs.
Was there a goalie stick called Vachon?
I believe there might have been.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't know if there was or not.
I know that was the dessert that you purchased.
Oh yes,
just about every day at high school.
Oh, I love the cafeteria. The half loon moons, right?
Right.
Yeah,
but
the half loon moon or whatever.
I believe when I was playing, and a lot of my equipment was very similar to Dryden's. I had the same kind of blocker as well as catching glove with the black cover over the knuckles. I had my goalie sticks. You would buy them, and they would have the player's name stamped on them. And one of my sticks at that time definitely had that Bunny Larocque stamp on that stick.
Well, there you go.
So wow. I would have to say it was Bunny Larocque that replaced Ken Dryden.
Yeah, and I used to buy sticks by the dozen, and I used to use Coho. If you remember the Coho sticks, right? Well, the answer is Michel Bunny Larocque. You're right on the money. And I was looking at this list, and I said Vachon was too early. Gump Worsley was gone by then. Thibault was too late.
Yes.
So I picked Bunny Larocque as well. Yep. And, I always admit when I'm wrong on these because I'll say, I don't know. I had no clue. Like last week, there's a lot of stuff I had no clue on. A couple of these. But in 1974, legendary Montreal Canadian Ken Dryden sat out the season to finish his law degree, leaving the Habs with a gaping hole in their goaltending situation. But that was to be short-lived when a young goalie named Michel Bunny, his nickname was Bunny, his parents called him Bunny. His mother called him Bunny when he was a little kid. So it stayed with him. Larocque came into the picture. Larocque was drafted 6th overall by the Canadiens.
That's amazing.
In the 72 draft. So they were highly regarding this guy. And he labored in the AHL with the Voyagers for the first couple of years, and he won the Hap Holmes Trophy and was selected to the second All-Star team in the AHL. He was called up in '74 to play for the Habs, sharing duties with Michel Plas. Do you remember him?
That's hard to remember.
Yeah, and Wayne Thomas.
Wayne Thomas, I do remember. Did he have anything to do with Niagara Falls?
He might have, The name sounds really, really familiar. Wayne Thomas.
Wayne Thomas.
He wasn't the guy in the Hosers, was he? One of those guys? Two guys?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. But he was the starter in the playoffs that year. Dryden returned in '75, and Laraque settled in as his backup, sharing 4 Vezina trophies with Dryden. And in those days, the Vezina was awarded to the principal goalies on a team, allowing the fewest goals in the regular season. And of course, Dryden played most of the games, but he did get 26 games in 1977 and led the league with the lowest goals against average at 2.09. In '79, Dryden retired, and Bunny saw more action and won his 4th Vezina, sharing duties with Richard Sevigny. Remember that guy?
Yeah, Sevigny.
Yeah. And newly acquired Dennis Herron.
Denny Herron.
Yeah, in 1981. Bunny was traded to the Leafs for defenseman Robert Picard and played 50 games with the Leafs. He was in the nets when the Sabres scored an NHL record 9 goals in one period against the Leafs. I love reading the stories like this about the Leafs. 9 goals in one period, record-setting, never done before. And Bunny Laraque was in there, unfortunately, for that disaster, and they lost 14-4.
14-4
in that game.
That's astronomical.
Yep, the Leafs in a 14-4 rout when they scored 9 in one period on Bunny Laraque. He would have been going to Ronald Perry, or whatever the hell his name is. That was the owner of the general manager of the Leafs. I don't play here no more.
I don't play here.
I don't play here, Ron. What's his name?
Sweet, c'est fini.
Harold
Ballard.
Yeah, well, he would have. Well, Ballard would have probably clocked him with the end of a hammer or something. He was wacky. After that, he was traded to the Flyers, finished his career with the St. Louis Blues. He retired in 1985 after playing 13 games in the International Hockey League. And sadly, on a sad note with Bunny Laraque, because I loved watching Bunny Laraque, this Montreal legend died in 1992 of brain cancer at the age of 40.
That's tough.
How sad is that?
That's tough.
He was around and then he was gone, So anyway, that's Bunny Laraque. That's the Vezina guy who stepped in for Dryden and did a great job.
I'm sure Ken had a lot to do with him winning a Vezina trophy.
Well, probably like 4 of them.
Absolutely.
Today he wouldn't have won anything because Dryden would have got the trophy by himself. That's how they award it now.
Très bien.
Yeah, so, but good for him, Bunny, and sad that he died so young. We hate to see any of our Montreal Canadian alumni die, and when they do, it's a real big deal. I mean, no matter who plays.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We hate to see anybody pass.
And it's funny because we did have Larry Landon in here, president of the Players Hockey Players Association, which regulates the AHL contracts and benefits and package and pension and that. And then we had Rick Wamsley. Rick Wamsley in here, right? The Whammer. Yes. And they were telling us, like, Montreal, as far as their ex-players, they treat them very, very well. And, it's sad to see when any one of them
They set you up in a booth, and they give you some, they saucisse fondue and a little bit of popcorn.
There you go. And we saw how they treated Beliveau's wife, Mimi Beliveau.
Celine Dion might come in and give you a hug.
Now, come on. Why torture our alumni? We don't want to do
hard
that.
To say.
We don't want to torture our alumni. Celine stays in Vegas where she belongs.
Yvonne will definitely drop by to say hello. Yvonne Courrier.
Well, yeah, there's still guys like the Roadrunner around.
I think he's kind of taking the torch from Henri Richard, and he's the guy who's hanging out at the Bell Center.
Oh, beautiful. Is he like an ambassador?
I believe he must be.
Something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we always have great players to be ambassadors in Montreal. I mean, Beliveau was one for years, and Cornoyer, and I'm sure anybody else who had a name in there, if they wanted to work for the Habs and be an ambassador, they would hire them for sure.
Everyone under the sun.
Yep, and we had so many greats over the years. So you know what? I was reading a lot of stuff here, and other than about Michel Bunny Laraque and being the guy who took over for Ken Dryden when he took the year off to get his law degree. And
And I believe Dryden came to Toronto to get his degree.
Yes, he did. Yes,
and
Osgood Hall.
He may have actually gone back and lived in the house with his parents and slept in his old bed.
He probably did.
And I think he was playing pickup hockey, but he wouldn't play goal. He played out.
No way.
Way.
Well, I mean, come on, they never scored him.
Exactly. So that was the deal. Like, go enjoy the game. I mean, and that's what it's all about, is enjoying the game. And so, Dryden would play in a beer league and get that, play out while he was going to school to finally get his degree.
And it's funny. We forget about the other Dryden, who was a fantastic goalie.
Dave Dryden,
Kenny Dryden, and Dave Dryden, his brother, right?
He was an older brother. Probably helped Ken get into the game of goaltending, and played mostly, I believe, for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, and he was a decent goalie in his own right. I mean, so we forget about him all the time, Dave Dryden, but yeah, his brother was a goaltender in the NHL as well. I mean,
two brothers being NHL goaltenders. Imagine that.
Imagine that. And I mean, he never reached the heights that Kenny did, or got the accolades, but he was a decent goaltender, if I remember right.
If you're playing in the NHL and you're stopping pucks, you're a decent goaltender.
And how many goaltenders are there in the NHL? Back then, there would have been maybe 32. I mean, 16 teams or whatever.
You'd probably have about 16 teams.
Yeah, so two goaltenders on each team.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, yeah, you're right. 32 players in all the world.
I mean, we got 32 starting goalies right now.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And backups. Montreal's got 2 starting goalies because they can't figure out who the hell the starter is.
Well, that's another story. Shall find out.
That is going to
over the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that will be revealed. All will be revealed. But what I was getting at here, John, is that you sat here and you said something very, very deep thinking. Because I was talking about maybe Kovalev coming over and coaching the power play, and you said, I don't think they're going to get somebody. I think we have the best power play coach in the organization right now as we sit.
MSL.
And I said, who? And you said?
MSL.
Marty St. Louis, exactly. So they relieved Burroughs of his duties, and he's gone. And you know what? I think you're right. I think Marty St. Louis is going to take over the power play in addition to his other duties as coach, and he's going to run the power play. And that, I mean, you couldn't get a better guy, can you?
I don't believe you could, number one. I mean, Marty St. Louis, if he was not a head coach in the NHL, could easily be a power play coach for any other team in the NHL, including Montreal if he wasn't the head coach. I mean, he could be hired on as, we need a power play coach. How about MSL? Perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
So number one, he's qualified.
I do think that your prediction of Marty St. Louis taking over the power play this year and doing it himself is going to come true.
Yeah. Number two, I love the aspect of a head coach getting specific with a team. I mean, we see it an awful lot in the NFL with head coaches that come up who are offensive coach calling plays or defensive coaches calling plays. And then once they assume the authority of being the head coach of the team, they continue to still work in the capacity that they were originally hired for within that team and progressed. And I think it's a great way of not only of communicating with the team and of also being connected to the team. So now,
good point.
You've got MSL out on the ice with the whole team, but now he's down in the trenches, getting down and dirty, and he's got to be almost held a little bit more accountable for something very specific, and that is a successful power play.
Yeah, and the more you think about it, like Marty St. Louis was a phenomenal player, and he was on the power play, and he saw how Tampa ran their power play with Vinny LeCavalier, and maybe Stamkos was on that line for the power play too, right? So when you think about it, he's seen it from, the bench when the second line power play goes on. Seen it on the ice from his position. Was he right wing, I think, if I remember right? So why wouldn't you have a guy with his productivity, his hockey sense,
His knowledge.
his work ethic, the whole shot? Why wouldn't you have him taking care of the power play? It only makes sense.
And as a
And
coach,
it's looking more like you're right, John.
as a coach, one of the keys with MSL is that he is young, and so he can still relate to the players, not just as the style of the hockey game itself and the way they play, but also with their social aspect of their life. And that's important as well, because as coaches age and players come in, they'll go, well, does this coach know anything about really what's going on? Like, there could be that disconnect factor. And I think the more that you can be around the life of a player, constantly, the more important it is, as you develop or continue to develop that continuity with the team and that connectivity, that they will buy in to your philosophy. And that's what we're trying to do. We want everybody on that team to be connected and buying in with the philosophy of the style of play of the Montreal Canadiens. And that comes back to communication.
And I know it's great to have coaches that are power play, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when you can turn to the one player or the one coach that was a player in his case, and you can turn to the one guy, whether you're just out there playing on a regular line or whether it's the power play. I don't know. It just seems to be better. It makes sense to me.
Well, not only that, too, we have a first line that has Slavkovsky, Caulfield, and Suzuki, which really are going to make up our power play.
Well, they're going to be out there all the time for sure.
And we're looking for Caulfield to be an important cog in that power play. His left-hand shot or his right-hand shot from the left-hand side, it's like the Ovechkin power play. So, and Suzuki is the guy who's running that power play. So they're all about, those two guys are really the same kind of stature of Marty St. Louis, the same kind of physical stature. MSL ran a successful power play when he was playing, played on one. And so he's basically he's got so much that I think he can help these two gentlemen with to be successful on our power play. His ability, his resources should prove wonders for the team.
Yeah, well, it's really funny, because when he gets on the ice and they're running the power play and he doesn't see them doing it right, he'll go, here, let me get in there and I'll show you how to do it.
And that's
I'll
what
show you how to do it.
It's one thing for somebody to tell you how to do it. It's another thing for somebody to say, this is how you do it, and I'm going to show you how you do it.
And I'm going to show you why.
And that it can be done. So it's not just somebody, he's got a chalkboard, he's marking it up. Yeah, great. But why don't you come out on the ice and figure it out, because it's totally different on the ice.
Okay.
And that's what's so important about MSL. And this will help him. This will actually help him as a coach by staying connected to the game as it evolves.
Yeah, I like it, and I think that's what we're going to see this year. I can't be sure. Maybe they have other ideas, other plans. I'm just kind of taking what you said a few weeks ago and thinking about it more and more, and them not making a move, and not even a rumor or anything about making a move. And all of a sudden, I'm going, yeah, they're going to listen to John.
They're going to do it. I think you got to look at your resources and develop them constantly. And I think that's what the Canadiens are doing. I think communication as well is one of the keys to this team. So we've got guys like we talk about Ken Hughes constantly, but his position is so large because he has to communicate to all the players, from signed players to prospects to unsigned prospects, to players who are being developed, what the vision of the team is, and keeping them all on board, that they want to continue to be on this team and are striving to be their best to play for the Montreal Canadiens. But not only that, he's also got to stay connected with the fan base, with us. He's got to make sure that we realize what his plan is, what he's trying to do with this team, and how long it's going to take, and keep us all on board. And I think we're in that situation right now where, we're buying in. Everybody is still excited. We're still getting, we're drafting first round draft picks, big ones, like Slavkovsky, and now we're seeing him actually on board onto the team. We're waiting now for a guy named Reinbacher to slowly develop and become like a premium defenseman on our team, because we took him 5th overall. And now we have a guy named Demidov, and we're excited that because we think he could actually be a game changer. So it's now important for Kent Hughes to be the communicator of this, to not only keep the players in line with his vision, but to keep the fan base in line with this vision, so that the fan base understands where this train is going, that they don't go, hey, I thought the train was supposed to be in the station like an hour ago, and we're still on the track. What is wrong? And and that's what he needs to do. He needs to continue to communicate his vision to the whole fan base, and then the fan base, once they understand what is going on with this hockey team, will accept what happens over the course of 2024-25, 2025-26, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and will stay behind the team and not become a critical fan base of dissenters, let's call it.
Negativity.
Absolutely. Positivity is what's going to make this team work.
Yeah, and he's checking the boxes. And you can tell if you tune into social media at all. I don't know how much you tune into these Habs pages, but I'm a member of all of them. And, just flipping through them and seeing what people are saying, I don't think in the last maybe 10, 15 years, I have ever seen so many people that can't wait for the start of next season. A few years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, I really wasn't looking forward to the season because I'm going, oh boy, another year of getting paying for NHL center ice, and by November, I'm tired of these guys losing. They just suck, and nobody's doing anything about it. And there was a lot of that.
And you're listening to a lot of people who really are not big hockey fans yammering off about your team.
But not this year. Not the last couple of years. The anticipation and the we're going to be good this year. This is going to be a great year. I can't wait for the season to start. I can't wait to see Demidov if they bring him in. I can't wait to see Slavkovsky in his third year and how he's going to tear it up. This is going to be his year, and Doc and Newhook and the list goes on and on. The power play is going to be better because we got rid of Burroughs. The anticipation for this season, like you said, and that's Hughes' job to keep it up there, is building. And I don't know any Habs fan who cannot wait for the start of this season on October 9th against the Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to see the team do well. We want to see the team win games. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's really going to be important for Hughes now to continue to communicate, not just with his team, but with the Montreal fan base, and say, these are our expectations. This is where we're at. So don't be critical of this team. Support this team.
And there's a big difference between losing and competing.
Absolutely.
Like last year, we competed in every game that we lost. We were there. We lost 41 goal games, or we didn't lose them, but we had 41 goal games that could have turned over. One player stepping up could have turned the games around, or one more save or whatever. And that's when they're competing right through the third period. They don't give up. And for me to lose a game by 1 goal, and we competed the whole game, and it was possible we could have won that. That's what I want to see, a competitive team that doesn't give up. And that's what we're getting. Even though we're losing, we can sit back at the end of the game and say, we played a hell of a game. We could have won that game. We just need a couple more players.
Absolutely. And Ken Hughes is brilliant in the sense that he's kind of like, when you become GM, when you get that job of being a general manager of a hockey team, it's kind of like being elected president. Okay, you like a year ago you weren't running that team. Now you're in charge of that team. But you've inherited a team, and you have to maybe dismantle that team to some degree, but you still have to ice a team for your next game, and you have to slowly develop with assets that you have available to you to try to assemble a cup winner. So much like a president will inherit somebody's, government situation, we have the same thing here going on with the general manager. What Ken Hughes has done is he doesn't go backwards and speak to problems. He's addressing them, though. And he's trying to communicate what he's trying to build. And he's doing that with the players. I think he's being very successful. I think the success for Ken Hughes is that he continues to do that with the fan base, and that the fan base realizes this isn't done overnight. I mean, fan base, of course, would love us to, make a big trade and pick up a player right now, but that doesn't really fit in the overall plan until we have certain prospects that we like Reinbacher and Demidov actually playing on a daily basis in the NHL and being ready to make their best contribution at that point.
Yeah, and what I like about Hughes too is that he's very transparent. He really, really does let the fans know what he's doing. And from what I can see over the last, how long has he been running the show, general manager?
I think 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Over that amount of time, he's stuck to his plan. He hasn't, in the middle of it, said, we got to make a move in this direction. He's got a plan. He put it together. He related his plan to the people who are working for him, Marty St. Louis, the coaches, the trainers, everybody. They all know what they're doing, where they're going, and even Laval, even to the Laval guys, and he's sticking to it. And that's why when we sit there going, I hope he picks up a UFA, I hope he picks up this. No, his plan is not to do that, is to go that route. It's not his plan. And we're not going to see him do a lot of that unless the deal is so good for Montreal that he's gonna make a move on it. Other than that,
I think his plan will be to pick one up, but it's when, and like you say, unless somebody comes up with a ridiculous offer.
And the right guy,
have to have the right guy. But as we're speaking about, he's setting tones. He's communicating with the players by giving out Gooley the contract that he did. He's telling players, you live up to our expectations of your play. You have these opportunities to be successful, and this is the standard that we will set, and we're devoted to you. We're just not bailing on you here. But you need to show up.
And that's why we see Jack Guy with a 2-year contract, Barron with a 2-year contract. It's the way he does things, and at the end of the day, Jack Guy and Barron both have been told, and they've been sat down and said, this is what we want to do now. In 2 years, don't worry, we're going to take care of you if you work like you have.
And 3 to 4 to 5 years, when we have Reinbacher playing on a daily basis, when we have a Demidov playing on a daily basis, and it's time to make that move, there'll be cap room to do it because he hasn't made some bad mistakes signing UFAs.
Yeah, and that's really important in this cap age, because you really, really have to balance your finances as well. It's not just paying some 4 guys $13 million like the Leafs, where you got a $50 million payroll for 4 people, and the rest You just can't afford the players that'll get you through the playoffs or whatever. We're not going to have that problem on the Habs. These long-term contracts are very, very thrifty, and they're going to make sense in 2 or 3 years when these guys are putting up 85 points a year or maybe more, and we're only paying them like $7.5 million.
We're paying them a reasonable amount of money
Exactly.
so that we can actually have a successful hockey team.
Yeah.
Not just for one season, but for multiple seasons.
Multiple seasons.
It's doing it, but then it's also communicating it so that the fan base understands it and they know what's going on. And we see other teams in the NHL who have, what we believe is a pool of great hockey players, but can't get past the first round.
Well, you know what's funny, John? If you think about a cast on Broadway, right? You have your stars.
Absolutely.
But it's the supporting actresses and actors behind you. It's the cast that makes that Phantom of the Opera or one of these big productions that makes it great. Sure, you have your stars, but you take away everybody else around them and all the sets and everything else. What do you got? You got two people singing on stage.
You got a one-man band.
Yeah, exactly. So although it's great to have all these stars, you still have to have the supporting cast behind them to make that production a winner or to make that team a Stanley Cup winner.
And not only do you need those stars, but you need those stars that have the drive.
Yeah, they're going to be they want to be the best of the
have
best.
that mambo mentality.
There you go, back with the mambo.
And that's so important, that will do whatever it takes to win
games,
a Stanley Cup.
And a Stanley Cup eventually. So, getting back to the culture in that, there's one guy who will not go away here, right? And he's every day I read about this guy, and that is Patrick Laine.
Yeah.
And the talk's ongoing about Laine coming to the Habs, and the rumors, they just won't go away. Everybody else has kind of dropped off, but he will not go away. And when I read the posts and that, the crowd's kind of 50-50 on this guy. A lot of people want him. A lot are not enthused about his demeanor or work ethic. And we talk about culture all the time. Does he fit in? I think Laine is more of a want than a need. We'd love to have a guy like this. But do we really need him with Demidov coming up and other draft picks and our guys being developed and they're going to be scoring anyway? I think we have players in the system that can score goals, which he's supposed to be able to do. Demidov, Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, Newhook and Doc for sure. So I think that he's a want more than a need at this point. And I really would love to see him on the Habs personally. That's my opinion. But I don't think he's a need. I don't think we really need him, but if we had him, it would be great. What do you think, John? What do you think on this?
When there's a player of his hockey caliber, what we assess it to be at this point, available, I think any team would want him. No doubt about that. What he, as a person, is he someone who will fit with the culture and the personality of your existing hockey team? And I think that's really what it's going to come down to with this gentleman, is whether Kent Hughes feels that he is committed to a hockey program like the Montreal Canadiens and what that entails. Now, it sounds like there's been reports that he's been in the airport.
He was at the Montreal airport this week. They saw him. I think one of the writers, one of the big name writers, sports writers saw him there.
Well, which is a big deal in the sense that what would he be doing in Montreal? They were, it's a great city. Was there a wedding? Who knows? It could be anything.
Could be anything that he's in Montreal.
Could be anything to be in Montreal.
But it also could be sit down.
He might have been having a visit with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, he could have a sit down.
So that's what it really comes down to. It comes down to, I think more than anything, a player saying, I want to make a turnaround. Now, we've got a guy named Logan Mailloux, right?
Yes, we do.
and I think he had some minor problems, maybe.
Oh yeah,
You know, and we took a flyer on drafting him. We took a little bit of criticism for it,
a lot of heat.
uh, but we stuck with this gentleman for the last 3 years, I believe. And we even had to go and talk to the NHL about him playing or being allowed to play in the NHL and getting cleared, which I think happened last year.
Yes.
And so we brought him up into the AHL, and then he progressed, and I think he played 2 games at the end of the season. Maybe one or 2 games.
Yeah, he was there a couple games.
So we want Logan Mailloux to be in, I believe, the top 6D. I don't know if he'll make top 4D, but we definitely want him to be in that top 6. And so we're going to find out where we're at with Logan Mailloux. But I believe anybody can change at any time in their life as to who they want to be. But it's just whether they want to do it and they're ready to do it. And that's what it comes down with this Patrick Lane.
Lane.
Whether he wants to make that decision, whether he's at that point in his path. And so we'll see. And the only way we're going to know, or we're going to have an eye, or we're going to find out, first of all, is having discussions with him, communicating.
Yeah, and we've seen so many of these players like Patrick Lane, or whatever the hell they call him. But anyway, we've seen so many of these players float through the league that were fantastic, and they're the next big thing. And then they get into booze, they get into all kinds of trouble, and they're gone. So, I mean, this guy is kind of, he's skating towards oblivion if he doesn't straighten out his act and grow up. And I think sometimes that scare going into rehab and everything else is enough to shift somebody's attitude. And I think we saw Logan Mailloux with that. He got into a little bit of trouble, and we haven't heard about him getting into any trouble, whether it's his attitude, whatever got him into the first trouble. A lot of times it's cockiness or whatever. We haven't heard that from anybody, as coaches or anyone.
Those paths are different for everybody.
They are.
And you'll find people in every career at one point, maybe having that challenge, maybe thinking they're past it, and then slipping back on that slippery slope and having to deal with it again. I think what we're trying to do with Patrick is find out exactly where his headspace is and see if he's willing to do the work, and if he is, give him that support.
Yeah,
and then decide whether or not, as a team, that the team's going to accept him as well.
Yeah, players like that kind of, they kind of frustrate me, only because the talent is there, and we know how good they can be. And when they just kind of, for us, it's kind of like squandering an NHL career. And it just is very frustrating. So I'm even a bigger fan of his, that he can turn it around and become the player that his talent will let him be.
We're definitely cheering for Patrick to be successful.
Oh yeah, whether it's with Montreal or anybody else.
Exactly.
We just want him to get into the groove and be the player he can be, because you get generational talents, and a lot work out and some don't work out, and they've got the talent, and they just can't get it together. I mean, and it's frustrating.
We had a player here in Niagara Falls named Derek Sanderson, who really was an exceptional hockey player. He adapted to whatever role needed to be. So when he was on a team that had like some high-powered scorers, he realized that he was the best face-off artist in the game, and so he developed that skill. He also was brilliant at playing the PK, and he helped Boston win a Stanley Cup without a doubt. But Derek had a difficult journey as he progressed through his NHL career, and he probably had a shortened career because of it.
Yeah, and Derek Sanderson. A lot of people don't know this, but when Bobby Orr, I should say, got that goal where he's flying through the air, the most famous goal ever.
Well, I don't know if that's the most
well,
famous.
The picture is. The picture's famous.
I think it's a very famous picture.
Exactly.
There might be a picture with the Rocket scoring a goal that's a little more famous for me.
But
I do understand the picture.
But you know who passed him the puck?
Absolutely.
John Beliveau.
Derek Sanderson.
It wasn't John Beliveau.
Derek Sanderson.
It was Derek Sanderson.
Around the ice. Derek Sanderson.
I talked to him about that, and I asked him, like, what was he thinking when he passed? And he goes, I don't know, I was just playing hockey, man.
Exactly. He was just playing hockey.
I was just playing hockey.
He threw the puck in front of the net.
Yeah.
Like a Corey Perry.
Yep, exactly.
It's that hockey sense, and that's what Sanderson had.
He really did.
He was an exceptional player. But he had his demons.
He sure did. Lots of them.
And we all have demons. And some of us are lucky that we can control them better than others. And that's what we're hoping for Patrick, is that he wants to take on that responsibility, and that he's at that point in his life that he wants to go forward and try to make a difference.
So we'll see what the interview was like with Hughes. I mean, he came to Montreal for a reason. He just didn't come to hang around and buy new Gucci loafers.
He might have went to shop for a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
At that store, there's a store on St. Catherine Street that's been selling jeans for over 100 years.
Maybe he went to buy a Demidov sweater.
Because the new sweaters are being manufactured in Montreal.
Exactly. So there you go. Right from the manufacturer.
He's probably in line with Drew Deeks.
There you go. Yeah, he's waiting for that sweater.
If he wants, Patrick, if you sign, the sweater I have on is like 50 years old. You're more than welcome to it.
It's torn up and covered in blood, but it's a heck of a sweater.
I used to wear this sweater playing goal when you used to come down and take shots on me.
Yeah.
So it's been around for quite some time. But Patrick, if you ever want to come down and be on HABSOLUTELY, you get signed to the Habs. We'll make a deal for the sweater.
Yeah, there you go. He's 6'5", though. I don't know if he'd fit.
We might have to stretch it.
We might have to let it out in the back.
It is a little stretchy.
Yeah.
There's a few holes in it, but it's a little stretchy.
Now, let's see. Here's a really, really heartwarming thing that happened.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Caulfield, Suzuki, and other players on the Habs have reached out to Demidov, welcoming him to the Montreal Canadiens, saying they cannot wait to have him on the ice with them. I mean, John, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about building in the thing. Can you imagine? They reached out to the guy, said, we can't wait for you to get here. You can get on the ice with us and take the Habs to another level. How good does that make Demidov feel?
Well, that's the culture we're talking about. Demidov goes into the draft and he tells people he can't wait to play in Montreal because he knows it's a tough environment to play. He knows the history. He knows that the Montreal Canadiens are the best team ever in the National Hockey League, and that everything is going to be on him, that people are going to have these high-level expectations for him to come in and win games and deliver a Stanley Cup. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want to play in that environment. I don't want to play in some beantown, hicktown. I want to play where everybody expects me to win the game when it's 3-3 and there's 5 minutes left in the third period. I want to be the guy on the ice to do that.
Yeah, but how great is that the players are, actually getting a hold of them and talking to them and telling them we can't wait. I would feel like $1 million. This warms the cockles of my heart.
You're building a family. That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
That's what happens in a family. That's what happens in a family in La Belle Provence. You've got each other's back and you're helping each other be successful. It's like, what do you want to do? Well, if you want to come and you want to visit me in Trois-Rivières and you want to go and be a bricklayer, no problem. You come stay in my house and I have you covered until you get your feet under you. Same kind of concept. We've got your back.
You gotta love it. You gotta love. When I read stories like this, I'm just going like, this is how you build a Stanley Cup winner. Not people not wanting him to come because he might get more goals than them,
Well,
and it might threaten their career. No,
that's it.
working
Yeah.
together.
He might actually get you traded.
Yeah, so nobody's on that level in Montreal. They're all together. They're going to win this together, and he's going to be part of it. Welcome to Montreal, and you got to love that on a team. You just got to love it.
I agree. It's exceptional, and and again, that's where we're at with this team, and I think that's why the fan base have the not only the passion but the patience to see this team develop, and that will be key in the success of this next wave over the next 10 years of the Montreal Canadiens.
So what do you got there, John? I mean, we're getting to the La Troisième Étoile de la Semaine Dernière pretty soon.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's been a pretty quiet week. As far as big news stories, nobody's playing hockey really at this point.
No,
so
nothing's going on.
To me, the biggest, the most important thing is the player development, the communication on this team, and the passion. Those are really the three stars of this week. Everybody having the passion and patience for this team, that everything that's being done on this team is communicated so that not only the players understand what the game plan is, but so do the fans. That's so important. And then the creativity of and development of players. That is the key. I mean, I think in the last broadcast we talked about Gooley, and somebody chimed in one of the comments about the fact that he doesn't know where Gooley's development is going at this point. And I've got to believe. I mean, I don't know either, but I would hope with the investment that we've made in player development that it is going on like it was with Slav when he was over in Europe and he had the goggles on.
Exactly. Simulation.
And we know that HP Sauce got injured playing pickup hockey with some of the team. So we know they're all still in the game at this point. But at one point too, you do need to take those 2 or 3, 4 weeks, recharge your batteries, reflect on being in a family, sit down and actually communicate with your significant others. This is what I'll be doing over the course of this year and the next 2 or 3 years, and making sure that everybody understands that I'll be away playing hockey. I'll be devoted 8 hours every day with my development. So we need to plan these little events around us to keep my mental and your mental health well as well.
Yeah, that's a great point because communication is so important, and a lot of players get ruined because their wives don't back them anymore, and they can't stand them being away. They don't understand the game and what it means to be an NHL star and play on an NHL team. So communication, not just with the team and other players, but with families, is just as important.
And that's what's important with a guy like a Patrick. So you're signed to an NHL team. You're now you have a lot of money. Now you're considered a success. People want to talk to you. You have a fan base, but you also sometimes when you're traveling have an awful lot of time on your hands. And how do you deal with that? And is there something that's part of your makeup that means that you need a little more help? And it's finding those people that need that help and making sure that they're given that help to keep them on the right path, on the right course.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It's not. We're not calling anybody out here. It's just that those are realities, and we all have to be aware of them, and they could affect all of us at different times. So that's why it's important to have that kind of communication within the team.
Yeah, and that was my first star, my Troisième Étoile. I only had one because there's nothing really going on. But my big one was those players who reached out to Demidov. I don't know, man. I just love that right there, and I just think that's how you do team building. And if you're in a big business or anything, they always do these little trips and these little exercises for team building, right?
For sure.
When you go out and
Absolutely.
you play laser tag, and you're depending on the other guys to save you from getting hit, it's that team building, right? And this is what this kind of stuff does, where Demidov feels like part of the team, and he hasn't stepped on the ice yet in North America.
Absolutely.
I mean, I just, it's just,
And Demidov as well is in a country that is involved in a war, and a lot of people, in fact, Dominic Hasek recently spoke out that any Russian hockey player should not be allowed to play in the NHL
yeah,
currently.
yeah. So I mean, there's that too. And
So there's
that's
a
another
whole
part.
different political parameter going on right now. So we just drafted a Russian hockey player. We're expecting him to be a game changer. And we have this guy named Dominic Hasek, who has expressed, he's Czechoslovakian, and he's expressed that the NHL, the Gary Bettman and the owners should get together and resolve that no one who is of Russian, who is born in Russia at this point, should be allowed to play in the NHL. Like, how do you feel about that?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
What do I care? Let them play.
And that's what, and that's where I'm going at.
Sports and politics should be separate things.
And why should a person who had no control over where they were born be listed as such, like blacklisted by someone?
Yeah, I mean,
and that's what I see Dominic Hasek basically saying. I understand that you're concerned about what's going on in the world, as far as what's going on with Russia, but at the same point, the people who were born in that country don't necessarily have control over that.
Yeah, and like Canada's not fighting Russia. Ukraine is fighting Russia. Let them deal with it. Canada has nothing to do with it other than we're wasting a lot of taxpayers sending it over to Ukraine. But other than that,
you have a guy like Demidov, who is a hockey player.
Yeah, I mean, what's he have to do with that?
And he is playing hockey in that country. He was born in that country, and he's being basically, like people are speaking up, like, stay, don't come over here. And then, of course, we've drafted him, and we're embracing him.
Well, if anything,
that's why you have to give a lot of credit to guys like, Caulfield and Suzuki, stepping up and saying, "Hey, no, you're welcome here."
Yeah, well, if anything, it would be Russia who would say to him, "No, you're not going to Canada because they're supporting the Ukraine against us." That's where the stop would come, not on our side of it.
Well, unless a guy like a Hasek.
Well, yeah, but and in '68 there, Czechoslovakia got beat for the Olympic gold by the Russian hockey team or something. So they're still hurting over that one. And then Russia invaded them right after.
Unless
or was it Czechoslovakia beat Russia and then they invaded Czechoslovakia? One or the other. But I mean, Hasek. I mean, who's he anyway? Played for the Sabres. You can't take him seriously.
He did play for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, you can't take him seriously. I mean, he's got these old prejudices and stuff, but we don't. We want these guys over here. Let them play.
We're trying to support people. We want to uplift people. We want people to be their best.
Yeah, if he comes over and causes trouble, send him back like you do anybody.
We just like we're trying. We wish Patrick all the best.
That's right. Anyway, on that note, we ended on a political note.
On that positive note.
Yeah. Well, we don't care because we're the Habs, right? We love the Habs, and they're not like that. You play hockey. We don't believe in all this DEI hiring. We want the best players. I don't care what color they are. I don't care about anything else. Give us the best players.
We want players who are bleu, blanc, et rouge.
They bleed that. On that note, I'm Paul K. Lemire. This is my co-host, John Fillion.
I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, liking, and commenting. Have a great semaine.
Yeah, and this will be on YouTube shortly. We're going to put it on right after. So have a great day, everybody.
Bonsoir, mes amis.
We'll talk to you later. This is
Ciao,
Absolutely coming to you live from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, in downtown Niagara Falls in the studios of 4680Q Radio. We'll see you next Wednesday at noon. Have a great week, everybody, and go Habs, go.